The next day began like any other. The sun rose slowly, villagers busied with their tools, children running home with mud-stained feet. As Kale returned from the square, where he had gone to fetch supplies for his mother, he stopped upon hearing a different sound, a hoarse caw, coming from a crow perched on the fence by the house. The bird stared at him, its black eyes gleaming like polished stones, then flew eastward, toward the higher hills. He frowned, a tightness in his chest stirred by a feeling he couldn't explain.
Have you seen that crow before?
He asked his mother later as she kneaded bread on the wooden table, her apron dusted with flour. Lysara looked up, a soft smile on her lips.
Crows are messengers, Kale. But they don't always bring the words we wish to hear.
He huffed, but the sound of the crow's call wouldn't leave his mind, and he barely listened to his mother as he stepped back into the street. Lysara moved to the window, her fingers tracing the frame as she watched the sky. After handing over the supplies, Kale felt the pull of a pause and decided to visit Leora. Her house, simple yet adorned with the care of dedicated hands, reflected the girl's soul, a fortress of lightness that, even after her mother's passing, never allowed sorrow to dim the brightness of her family.
Leora!
He called, spotting her at the window, the graceful motion of her broom dancing over the stone floor worn by time. She turned, a broad smile blooming like flowers under the sun, her white teeth brightening the gloom that sometimes weighed on Kale's chest.
Shall we go to the stream?
He suggested, and she, dropping the broom with a relieved sigh, replied.
Just a moment, I'll get Tiana.
Leora would never refuse a visit to her favorite place. The two set off, crossing the orchards north of Venth, where wildflowers swayed to the rhythm of a golden breeze, their laughter mingling with the song of birds dancing among the branches. When they reached the stream, Kale leapt into the crystal waters with a clumsy jump, droplets glinting like jewels in the afternoon sun, while Leora spun Tiana in her arms, humming a childish melody that seemed to cradle the river itself. For a moment, the invisible weight Kale carried on his shoulders dissolved like mist at dawn, but a hoarse caw sliced through the air, making him look up. The crow hovered above, a solitary shadow among the sparse clouds, its black eyes flashing before vanishing into the horizon. He pushed aside the unease, echoing his mother's wise words, and returned to play, laughing as the mud clung to his clothes. Hours passed like a dream, until, with the setting sun painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, they ran back to the village, breathless and muddy, their hearts light, arriving at Kale's house just as the first echoes of Toritha's armor began to chime in the distance. The sun had fully set by the time Torith returned home, the sound of his armor echoing across the stone-lined yard. The house, lit by artificial lights, remnants of ancient knowledge, radiated a welcoming warmth, the scent of freshly baked bread and meat stew mingling with the aroma of herbs from Lysara's garden. Kale ran to embrace his father, his eyes shining with the excitement of a boy of 13 winters, while Lysara appeared at the door, apron dusted with flour, a gentle smile on her lips.
Welcome home, my love,
she said, her voice sweet, as she stepped closer and brushed her fingers gently along Toritha's arm before giving him a quick kiss. At the oak table in the center of the main room, the family gathered. Leora was there, along with her younger sister, Tiana, a little girl of 4 autumns, her blonde hair in messy braids, blue eyes wide with curiosity as she held a piece of bread in quiet hands. The family's comfortable situation, the result of years of service to Auren, allowed for a table even more abundant than most in the village, steaming bowls of stew, crusty bread, orchard apples, and a jug of golden mead. The stone walls reflected the candlelight, and the fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows across the room. Torith laughed heartily at the sight of the delicious meal awaiting him, grabbing Kale by the arm and lifting him as if he were a feather, spinning him through the air as the boy shouted with joy.
"You're getting heavy, boy. Soon you'll knock me over,"
he said, setting him down in his chair with a pat on the shoulder, then taking the seat beside him. Lysara, a mischievous glint in her eyes, walked over to Torith and sat on his lap, her arms wrapping around his neck as she served stew into the bowls.
You should rest more,
she said softly, tracing small circles on his shoulder with her fingertips.
"Rest is for those who can afford it,"
Torith replied, though his smile was one of surrender. She placed her hand over his, giving it a gentle squeeze.
Then let it be for the luxury of seeing me smile one more night.
Torith had no reply to that. Leora was helping Tiana eat, guiding her hands with patience and laughing when the little girl spilled broth onto her lap.
She's such a mess. I don't remember being this messy at her age,
she said, glancing at Kale with a shy smile. Kale shrugged, grabbing an apple.
Still are.
He said, prompting a laugh from Torith as Leora made a face. Lysara chimed in with a smile.
Messy as a river.
Then she began to hum, and Leora laughed, not quite understanding. Lysara's voice lifted into a soft verse from one of the chants of the Lume as she sliced bread, the melody filling the air with a warmth that stirred the heart, blending with the scent of fresh bread and awakening everyone's appetite. The night carried on with light-hearted conversation. Torith told an exaggerated tale of a patrol against bandits in the hills, mimicking sword strikes with his spoon, while Kale mimicked the enemy's sounds, making Tiana giggle silently, her eyes shining. Lysara, seated close to Torith, added a detail about how she had healed a wound with herbs, her fingers tracing soft circles on his shoulder. Leora spoke of her plans to help her father in the garden, and for a moment, the weight of the world felt far away, a family bound by a closeness none of them yet knew would soon be tested. Later that night, Kale awoke to a low murmur coming from the main room. He heard his parents talking, their words muffled, but something about the crow made Torith's voice turn deep and concerned. Curious, Kale hesitated between getting up and drifting back to sleep, but the weight of dinner won over, and his eyes closed once more.
This humble space is blessing, stirred by timeless grace.